was a relatively quiet first day at NBA free agency, but day two has certainly picked up. And on today's show, we are going to look at the latest Miami Heat rumors following the first night of NBA free agency and what has happened so far early on day two. Things are very fluid. And if you're watching this later on Tuesday afternoon, things might have changed. But I'll say this. As of filming this on Tuesday morning, shocker, Miami has not made a move to this point. They did nothing on the night one Monday. They haven't done anything on Tuesday morning. And I will say this, as someone who has wanted Miami to do something in free agency, since they do have an open roster spot, and at least as what has been reported, the mid-level exception, $14.1 million to their use, I was hoping for something to happen. But I also did say on our video Sunday that I would not expect anything for Miami to do until they actually figured out what they do with Andrew Wiggins and Terry Rozier. And that's kind of where we're starting today's show. It seems like Miami is more focused on working the phones, maybe making a trade, because there are reports out there that Miami is focused on trying to offload Andrew Wiggins, offload Terry Rozier. They are not looking at NBA free agents at this point in the process. They are trying to figure out what they're doing with their top two trade candidates. And then once they do that, whether they're taking more players back, they're giving out more players and creating a roster spot, well, then they can start working free agency with maybe sign-in trades for restricted free agents or other unrestricted guys out there like Duncan Robinson coming back or Alec Burks coming back or maybe an outside free agent as well. So to me, we have to start the conversation at the latest trade rumors, which we'll get to here in a second. But predict it for me. Will the Heat make a move today? They have a lot of time to make a move on the second day of free agency, whether it's a sign-in trade, a signing, an actual trade. Will the Heat make a move? Predict it for me. Type Y for yes or type N for no. I want to start with the latest around Andrew Wiggins because he is the most likely player to be traded, I would say. Him or Terry Rozier are definitely like a 1A, 1B type of scenario. But we know the Lakers have been connected a lot to Andrew Wiggins. Well, here's the update from Jovan Buha, who covers the Los Angeles Lakers on a daily basis, saying there was some Andrew Wiggins buzz a few days ago, but I've heard the asking price for Miami was pretty high. We're talking basically everything or close to everything that the Lakers could offer from a top asset standpoint. So I do not think that's going to happen. And I'll say this when it comes to the Miami Heat. I like the Heat not selling for nothing, but I do think Miami values its players a little bit higher than they should at times. Do I think Miami should be trying to get one of a first-round pick or Dalton Connect from the Lakers? Yeah, absolutely. But if they want Connect and a first-round pick plus expiring salaries, that seems a little bit aggressive to me in terms of what they will do. I'll put this out here and say that I would like to get like Gabe Vincent, Hachimura, the salaries match and Connect or a first-round pick. But I do not think it's necessary for Miami to ask for the two expiring contracts and then also a first-round pick and Connect. That seems like a little bit much. Now, I will say this. There was some small buzz about the Milwaukee Bucks being a team that could be interested in Andrew Wiggins, but that is likely not going to happen anymore after the chaos around the Bucks happened today, them signing Miles Turner, waiving Damian Lillard. They already brought back Gary Trent, signed Gary Harris. I don't anticipate the Bucks going after Andrew Wiggins at this point anymore, but they were connected in the past, so you never know. Maybe they spin the block. But hit that sub button for the top Heat coverage on YouTube. We're 500 away from 24K. Let's get to 24,000 subscribers for Haywood Highsmith. Hit that sub button for the top Heat coverage on YouTube. All right, let's transition now to Terry Rozier. Could he potentially be traded this offseason? And if you see me looking down at my phone, I apologize. I want to make sure I don't miss any breaking news in the NBA while we're filming this video. It's a tough thing to do here as a content creator. But one thing that we've heard is that Rozier could be maybe traded for John Collins. Let's hear what the latest on Collins is. Jake Fisher saying that one name I've heard for the Heat has been John Collins. Utah has been trying to move off of him for seemingly 2 years now. I do think if that does happen, his most likely spot would be Miami. And the Heat are also connected to DeMar DeRozan. Well, I'll say this, and my initial thought on the Collins deal was like, I don't understand this. And that's kind of where I lean, right? But it is maybe the perfect deal for Miami. You look at John Collins' contract. He's got 1 year left, so he's an expiring contract at $26.5 million. Terry Rozier's contract, expiring 1 year, $26.6 million. So it is a perfect Rozier for Collins swap if that was something that Utah would be interested in. And if you are Miami, Collins is certainly a better player than Terry Rozier because Collins is an excellent stretch big. He shot 40% from three this year and averaged 19 points a game in his 40 games played. Now, he didn't play a lot of games this past season, but he did play pretty well when he was on the floor. And the Heat have been linked to John Collins in the past. My question is, what is his fit? Is he going to be the big off the bench in rotation? Because you're probably starting Bam and Kalal Ware. Collins played a little bit of the three last year with Markkanen, Collins, and Walker Kessler sharing the floor, but I don't think that's a good idea from Miami's perspective. Now, I would be a little bit interested if they traded Wiggins for John Collins, but I'm also not in the business of trading Wiggins for Justin expiring. I'd like to get some type of future asset out of it as well. I'm skeptical of his fit if you bring him off the bench because where is he going to play? Is he going to be as effective? And then you're just going to play Ware and Collins together at times, Bam and Collins, it's just a little bit interesting to me. I'm unsure of that. But he's certainly a better asset than Terry Rozier, so I am in on the deal, if we're going to be honest. If you are trading Terry Rozier and 1 second-round pick for John Collins, I would do it. I would attach 1 second-round pick for it. I would, because Collins is the same expiring deal, so it doesn't affect you in the financial aspect of your future, but Collins would help your team better now. He would. And maybe he could help Nikola Jovic develop, maybe a little bit more Nikola or Kalal Ware as well. I would do it. Attach 1 second-round pick for it. I would think about doing that. Now, the question is, maybe would the Jazz attach a second-round pick? And the reason why I say that is because Utah sent Colin Sexton and a second to the Hornets for Yusuf Nurkic. That made no sense to me. So maybe the Jazz do a no-sense deal again where they send a second-round pick to Miami alongside John Collins for Terry Rozier. I don't know. Certainly interesting, but we'll keep an eye on this possibility. And you got to get your hands on this shirt. It's 50% off. Usually $30. You can get it for $15 right now when you go to chatsports.com/heatshirt sale. That link's in the description and comments of today's video. I think it's a sweet shirt. Producer Dylan said it was absolutely sweet. And if he says it's sweet, you know it's sweet. So 50% off this Heat shirt. One more time, chatsports.com/heatshirt sale. Let's segue to the latest around Duncan Robinson, who is at this point the best Miami Heat free agent there is, since they already brought back Davion Mitchell. A lot of the buzz has been around the Detroit Pistons. Well, the Pistons signed Karis LeVert on the first night of free agency, and many people speculated, myself included, could this take them out of the Duncan Robinson sweepstakes? Well, Jake Fisher says not so fast. Jake Fisher reporting that they've been anticipating the hole for Malik Beasley could be filled by Duncan Robinson. Obviously, Beasley has that gambling kind of drama over his head right now. That's the name they've been monitoring in addition to Karis LeVert. The Pistons, I don't think, are done adding their backcourt to their ring rotation with the LeVert addition. And to me, when I'm looking at the Duncan Robinson kind of sweepstakes, if you will, the rest of the offseason, to me, it's either Detroit or Miami. I just don't know if another team is out there willing to do a sign and trade for Duncan Robinson. So to me, it's either Detroit giving him a relatively solid deal and pulling off a sign trade or Miami, where the Heat get something in return. Maybe a Simone Fontecchio is a fascinating player to keep your eye on. He's killed Miami, would be a solid rotation player off the bench that you could maybe even flip at the deadline for more assets at the trade deadline. That's a good idea too. Or maybe you just re-sign Duncan Robinson. The Heat are $12 million under the luxury tax. They can bring back Duncan on a 3 for $30 deal and then avoid the repeater tax penalty, but keep Duncan Robinson, and then that's kind of your roster going into the season. And I'm kind of there with Duncan. I originally said I was fine letting him go, and I kind of didn't want to bring him back. But with how the first kind of 24 hours of free agency has transpired here, I'm fine bringing back Duncan Robinson at this point. Because if I was replacing Duncan Robinson, the two players that I wanted was NAW, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, on the full mid-level, which is what he got 4 for $62 with the Atlanta Hawks. Great deal for them, by the way. And then if you lost them as well, then you didn't get NAW, I would have wanted Luke Kennard off the bench as a shooter. He got a much bigger contract than I anticipated, 1 year, $11 million. So maybe that's something you could look at for Duncan, because I do think Duncan's a better player than Luke Kennard. So maybe he gets a 3 for 33 or something like that. But with those two off the board, I'm fine bringing Duncan Robinson back. And that's kind of what I want to ask you guys. Are you a person who wants Duncan Robinson back? Type B if you want him back. Type G if you want him gone. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And we'll round out today's show by looking at some of the updated top NBA free agents that are still available as of filming. And as we were filming this, a couple moves did happen, most notably the Miles Turner to the Milwaukee Bucks. So he is off the board. He was someone that I didn't expect Miami to go after and weren't going to go after regardless. But we obviously know they could be interested in Jonathan Kuminga in a sign and trade. I don't think they'd go after Giddey, Grimes, or Ayton, but Kuminga is certainly still a target for Miami, and we'll see if they spin the block there. The next group of free agents are all still available to this point of filming. Cam Thomas, Al Horford, Chris Paul, Dennis Schroeder, and Malcolm Brogdon. I do not think Miami goes after any of these players, if I will be frank. Next group of 5, and this is another move that came in. Yershon Yabusele went to the New York Knicks on a 2-year, $12 million deal. I know Miami and Tim Hardaway have held mutual interest in the past. Maybe he could be a cheap Duncan Robinson replacement off of the bench if Duncan ultimately goes elsewhere in a sign and trade. Mo Wagner is certainly an interesting player. He did tear his ACL during the season, but I would be fascinated by bringing him in on a cheap deal to be your backup big. And then another group of free agents here. You see Duncan Robinson. You see Chris Boucher. Maybe Larry Nance Jr. could be an option for Miami off the bench because the Heat do need a backup center. There is no doubt about that. They don't have one right now, and maybe they do go after someone like that. Now, as I'm looking at things here, I feel like at least as of right now, as long as Andrew Wiggins and Terry Rozier are on the roster, a sign and trade feels like the only avenue, whether it's for Jonathan Kuminga, whether it's doing a sign and trade with Detroit where Duncan Robinson goes to the Pistons, or maybe you do a sign and trade with another team. Things are obviously very fluid and they will change, which is why you subscribe to the channel, because when the Heat make a move, we will have you covered with a video, and if they acquire a player like Kuminga or a big-name guy, we might even go live on the channel. So hit that sub button, lock us in for the top Heat coverage on YouTube.